Let's talk more about these movements now with Ridwaan Moolla from Think Markets. Ridwaan, I was just actually having a look at today's close and the movements that we saw. I mentioned that in early afternoon trade, the local bourse was well over 1% in the red, about 0.74% to end off the day. What would you say were some of the biggest contributors to the losses that we saw on the local bourse today? And I wonder if there were big volumes because we did have a public holiday yesterday.
So, well, firstly, yeah, there was some good volume. It wasn't the largest amount of volume that was traded, but the big heavyweights like Naspers, Prosus, and Anglo Plat, which was actually down well over 4.5% today. That really brought our all-share index all the way down. And on the green front, I mean, there wasn't that many big jumpers. I mean, you had your ShopRites, your Woolworths and the likes, just above 2%, which was okay. And that pretty much helped the all-share index for the day. But it was really and truly the industrial sector, the resource sector that really took a knock today.
What didn't take a knock, Ridwaan, is the local unit. The rand doing actually rather well against the major global currencies today. I wonder if it's got anything to do with inflation data that came out of the United States. I mean, it was better than anticipated, but I wonder if it had anything to do with the positivity we are seeing in the local unit.
It definitely did. I mean, you're not going to just see the USD ZAR move that much without some sort of positive announcement coming from overseas. Inflation numbers were flat out of the US, so that was a really, really good thing. Obviously, the thing is we need to look forward now to see what the Fed's going to do with regards to interest rates based upon the data that's coming out of there. Has inflation really peaked? I personally don't think it has. I think we may still see a bit there, which may result in obviously further interest rates hikes. But I think they've done a very good job. I mean, the Fed seems to have controlled it nicely, and that's helped quite a bit as well. It's helped emerging market currencies, and especially the rand as well. I think it was, what is it, a month ago when I last said on the show, yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel. So there definitely seems to be some light. I mean, that along with the Brent price, which I'm just looking at right now, it's at 95.88 in dollar terms. So all of it looking really good from an economy point of view for us in South Africa as consumers. Hopefully, if we can stay at these levels, especially the oil price and the likes, we should be seeing a nice drop in the petrol price come into the month.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you touched on that price of Brent crude, which has remained at those levels for a few days now. So I share your optimism, Ridwaan, about what's set to come at the pumps at the end of the month. Let's move on to some company updates, Ridwaan. We had Nedbank coming out with their results. I mean, their results showing that there's a strong demand once again from people looking to buy houses and cars. So that kind of financing saw some growth within the bank. What would you say were some of the other salient features that kind of show that things are slowly going back to pre-COVID levels when it comes to the banking sector?
So the big one was obviously the dividend that they declared. The interim dividend being declared right now is pretty much up 81% year on year. And this is back to, I mean, it's actually above the pre-pandemic levels of 2019. So that for me was really and truly something to say, well, we're getting back to some normality in the finance sector. Its share price, it was pretty flat, 0.45%, but that had more to do with the fact, obviously, of the inflation numbers coming out of the US that impacted all the finance sector. But the thing for me with Nedbank that really stood out is they're one of the banks, along with obviously Capitec, which has grown a bit of its market share. Its market share is up roughly about, I think it's about 2% that they've taken in market share over the last few years. So they're one of the few banks that has been growing in that retail segment. And that was one of the big things that they highlighted as well in their results. The retail segment has done quite well, up, getting market share back.
And then we had a trading statement, Ridwaan, from Libstar. They are the owners of Lancewood. They're speaking about the Spice acquisition of a company in the Cape. Your thoughts on that trading statement and the direction that Libstar has taken?
So myself, personally, I love Libstar. They produce one of my favorite sauces, the Tabasco sauce. So I do love them. And yes, the market loved it as well today. I mean, it was up over 6.5% on the day. They've just acquired Cape Foods, as it's called. And Cape Foods is herbs, spice, and seasoning blends. So it's going to complement. I mean, they do already have Robertson's in their arsenal as well. So it is a complement on that there. But just one thing to highlight, I mean, you were just talking about the citrus problem that we're having. Their growth and their impact and even their sales, even though it was up, it wasn't up massively. But the fact that they managed to get it up with all the supply chain disruptions that they've had, and obviously inflation and consumer pressures was actually very, very, very important. It was well done to the leadership team there for having done that, actually.
No, thank you. As always, Ridwaan Moolla from Think Markets. I'm going to go leave you to enjoy your dinner with your favorite Tabasco sauce. Sally, I'll be back in the next bulletin. We're going to be